Welcome to this episode of Believe in Lions. As usual, on the pod, the star of the show, former Lions All-Pro Glover Quinn, joins myself, Trevor Thompson, and today we've got a very special guest. He started in the Lions media department in June of 2012 and has climbed the ranks all the way to the very top. He is the Lions Director of Football Communications. He is not only the best in the city, not only the best in football, but the best in all of sports in this country at what he does. He is Eamon Reynolds. He is a native Michigander and one hell of a hockey player as well, and someone that Glover knows very well. Eamon, thanks for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule at this time of the year to join us here today. So glad to have you, man.
That was quite the embellished intro, Trav. I appreciate that.
Glover, no embellishment at all. Listen, you've worked tough, really closely with this guy over the years. How good is he at what he does, and what makes him so good at what he does, being a player who had to interact so much with him because you're such a star on the field and so popular with the fans? You were in high demand.
Oh, man, I can't say I was in that high of demand, but, I mean, Eamon was just cool, man. He was consistent. He was on time. He was respectful. He was organized. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Somebody that respects your time, understands, hey, we're going to get you in, we're going to get you right out. Like, you know, and you know, it was good to have. And so for me, being in Detroit, I did talk to the media a lot, and I tried to kind of create my own like little time that I talked. So I didn't feel like talking every day. So I would do just like Soundbite Wednesdays, and I was standing there on Wednesdays and talk for like the whole time. Like I would tell them, I'm gonna give you guys all 45 minutes today, but I didn't want to talk on Thursday. I didn't want to talk on Friday. And so that's what I did. And they were very respectful of that. So it was a cool thing. So working with Eamon was super dope.
Well, I was gonna start with that. And if the world didn't know and Lions fans didn't know that about Glover, people ask me, you know, hey, this is my 14th year with the Lions, and who's your favorite player you've ever worked with? Who are some of your favorites? And for me, as a young PR person, as you referenced, Trev, I started in 2012 as an intern. I was hired the following year in 2013. And at that time, I didn't really have a feel yet for the NFL calendar, some of my job descriptions, like, you know, how the job changes in the off season versus in season. And so free agency rolls around, and Glover was our top free agent signing in 2013. And so as a young PR person, new to the team, new to the department, working with someone like him, it kind of helped me show me the ropes of how to work with players, how to, you know, introduce them to media opportunities, how to communicate on, you know, preferences with media. And so we get to the regular season, and Glover referenced it, but to this day, he's the only player I've ever seen commit the entire 45 minutes on Wednesday to addressing the media for the entire time that they're in there. And it accomplished a lot. One, the media appreciated it because there wasn't a topic that wasn't covered. It was game related. It was life related. It was, you know, everything was discussed, and they knew Glover was going to give them the authentic Glover. And in return, they would even bring questions of their own to him about what happened in the previous game or what they're, you know. So it was a two-way street for sure, but also it was really strategic on Glover's end, if you think about it, because once Wednesday was done, nobody came up to him and bothered him the rest of the week, right? Unless it was me coming up to him with a network request for the game that week or something that had to be done on a different day. But no, definition of professional is Glover Quinn. So.
And the two-time Good Guy Media Award winner, voted on by the Detroit Media Association as well, shows how much he was appreciated in the room. But you just touched on something as well, Eamon. Networks coming to talk to your players. You're going to be, the schedule was just released, you're going to have 7 nationally televised games, 5 of them in prime time this year. How does that affect a guy like you in your role with a team that has so many players who are going to be sought after by the media and a very popular head coach as well, and a team that many think can get all the way to the Super Bowl this year with that kind of popularity? Tell us how that rolls out for your job this year, preparing for that now that the schedule has been released.
Sure thing. Yeah. My role, you know, being sort of this bridge between local and national media and the players and coaches, you know, the local and national media is one side of it. One of the most important parts of it is working with the TV networks that put on the games every Thursday, Sunday, Monday, now Saturdays sometimes. So we're talking Fox, CBS, ESPN, NBC, and now even Netflix and Amazon. And back in Glover's day, it wasn't that long ago, but things have really evolved and grown on the network front, where streaming platforms have, Netflix has 3 Christmas Day games. Now, Lions are one of them this year. So the broadcast footprint has really expanded, and I think it's enhanced the presentation of the game. The average fan may not understand everything that goes into putting on a 4-hour broadcast. And my role is really a behind the scenes role in helping whatever network we're assigned to do their jobs to help tell our story that particular week. Because if you think about it, when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on Monday Night Football come to town, they just got done doing 2 other teams. It's not like they've been focusing on the Lions this whole time. So when they flip their script, part of my job and my staff's job is to equip them with the information. Hey, what are some trending notes and statistics on our team? What are some storylines? Informing them about, when they're talking to us about players they want to speak with. Glover will remember doing production meetings where usually the Friday or Saturday before the game, the network crew actually comes in, has conversations with head coach Dan Campbell on through some of our top players, coordinators, and it really equips them with all the knowledge they need to go call our game appropriately and professionally and accurately on the broadcast. And so all of that, picture that going into a week, but there's a lot that's done in the off season too to prep for that. One big project I have going on right now, in a couple of weeks, we have our annual media day where every player from 1 through 90 on the roster will go through sort of a content shoot that Glover will remember, being head to toe in uniform. All of those video assets then get used in the graphics and the intros and the production elements you see on the broadcast. And so, it's not just like networks snap their fingers and these games happen. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's a proud aspect of my job, and I'm grateful to have the chance to work with a lot of great crews. More than ever this year, because as you referenced, Trevor, we're on just about every platform you can think of. So it's exciting.
Glover, walk us through that, what Eamon just spoke about from a player's perspective. You guys are creatures of habit, but now you're playing different days of the week, playing on networks, different access, different people want you for access. How does a player handle that? How did you handle that? How much did you look forward to it? And just the interaction with the communications department as far as getting ready for all those kinds of things?
I was a little different. I was more of a simple guy. I used to love playing Sundays at 1:00. Mm-hmm. That was more so my thing. If I had to play the national TV game, I wouldn't mind the Sunday night game or the Thursday night game. Hated Monday night games. You done sat around all day Sunday and watched everybody play, and then you got to sit around all day Monday and wait till Monday night to get to play. So Monday night games were the worst, but the production meetings were cool. Obviously, on home games, they would be typically on that Friday, at least for me. You get out of practice and you go up and you talk to the guys. And so, you get to meet some of the guys that's calling the game. Like you said, you meet Troy Aikman, so as a kid growing up watching Troy Aikman, and now you're getting to sit in the meeting with those guys. And, the Sunday night crew come in and you're getting to talk to those guys. And it's like, wow, this is actually kind of cool. When you plan on the road, it's generally on Saturday. When you get to the hotel, you kind of go to the production room and do those things. So that was cool. The weeks that you get picked to do that. But, from a scheduling standpoint, like I said, I don't think players really care about the network. It doesn't matter if it's, I never played on Prime or Netflix, but it didn't matter if it was, ESPN, whatever. It was more so just the day. Is it a Thursday night game? Is it a Sunday night game? Monday night game, like that? But it doesn't really change your routine outside of, if you're used to getting out of there early on Fridays, now you got to stick around for the production meeting. Or if you're used to taking a nap when you get to the hotel on Saturday, now you got to get up and go to the production meeting. But outside of that, it was fine. But the thing that I would be looking at is, the Lions got a Thanksgiving Day game and Christmas game. Like, right. You taking both of my holidays? Like, gee.
Well, I'll add one more thing, Trev, because you can appreciate this as a longtime member of the media. But one of the cooler things in my role is to see players get introduced to this part of their job. And what I mean by that is, I always tell players at the beginning of the season when we give a presentation on media relations, I try to say, speaking to the media is not your job, but it's now a big part of your job. And it's cool to see a lot of players find that path on their own. And obviously we've had a ton of former Lions players get into broadcasting and media. In addition to Glover, I remember Nate Burleson was a veteran when I first started. And I'll never forget seeing him conduct a press conference for the first time, just knowing, hey, someday in the not so far future, this guy is destined for television. And obviously his career now speaks for itself. But, there's those examples. But then, Glover, I remember our friend Quandre Diggs, like the first production meeting we had him do, we're walking out of there. I told him, I said, hey, you were really good in there. Like, did it feel like, was that what you expected? Like, did you enjoy that? He goes, yeah, this is what I want to do when I'm done. I want to be on TV. And so, seeing guys arrive at those conclusions on their own and being a resource to help, being a very small resource to help them with that is something I find a lot of joy in.
Hey, Glover, can you talk a bit more about that? We just had the draft. So kids come into town, they come in for mini camp or rookie camp, and they really don't know what to expect. And then they got to deal with the media. And a guy like Eamon comes around and tells you about, what your expectations are and how to conduct these sort of things. You don't know what kind of questions you're going to get and that kind of thing. Take us through what a player goes through in those situations, excuse me, and how the media department helps with that.
Well, I mean, the player comes in and, I think you have two types of players. You got the player that has watched a lot of football, watched a lot of media stuff, and they try to be like somebody else. And then you got the player that's just like authentically, this is who I am. They either know how to talk to the media or they don't, and they stay true to that. And, this guy is a great friend of mine, and, we joke about him all the time, but I didn't feel like Darius Slay was a great talker to the media, but that was just him. And he just stayed true to himself. He talked, he laughed, he had fun. Was he going to be grammatically correct all the time? No, but that was just Slay, and that was his personality. And he didn't waver from that. Yeah, he tried to work and get better at it, but he was just authentically himself. And so I think for the guys coming in, you don't have to be, a 13-year seasoned vet when you first talk to the media. Be yourself, be honest, be truthful, be authentic, and answer the question. You don't have to answer questions that they didn't ask you. A lot of times that's what they do. They overtalk when they don't even need to overtalk. Just answer the question that they ask. And, but for some of those guys that probably didn't play at big time programs and have a lot of media people, they're definitely going to have to lean on the media team to get caught up on how to handle. You got a lot of mics in your face, and a lot of cameras, and now that you're in the NFL, those interviews, they disperse out. So some of the things that you say, it can get put out there. And so we used to always say, basically you're just talking through the media, you know what I'm saying? Like you're just saying what you want to say, you're just using the media to get it out. So don't try to do too much. Just be yourself, answer the questions, be authentic, and you'll be okay.
Well, and to that point, take Tyleik Williams, for example. He was our most recent first round pick, but whenever our new draft picks join the organization, one thing we just try to say is, hey, this isn't your first and last interview. You've come from a big program or a small program. You're used to talking about football and yourself, but think of it now as you now get a chance to talk directly to Lions fans who are getting to know you. You're just talking through Trevor Thompson or Dan Miller, or Dave Burkett to get to these fans now. And so we always try to paint that perspective. And Glover, back when you were drafted, social media was really just getting started. As far as, where your press conferences or media availability or where your words traveled to and eventually lived, it's totally different now when word spreads like that and news breaks on social media apps now, whether it's true or untrue. Today's player entering the NFL or professional sports in general has grown up more with more exposure and more of an introduction to social media. And there's more of, I think, a conscientious awareness of sort of you wear your jersey 24/7 reality to being a professional athlete that causes, I think it's just a more refreshed and updated approach to presenting yourself and being available. And the NFL obviously has policies in place where head coach through coordinators and coaches and players on down, there's different structure for how media availability takes place. Where that now spreads, teams have content channels of their own. Social media outlets can just grab a quote and turn it into a graphic, and maybe someone's misquoted and you have to address it. So there's a lot of pressure, I would say, now to maybe players feel like they need to not say the wrong thing, right? But it goes back to what Glover said. Just if you're being yourself, more often than not, I think that's the best strategy to having a positive relationship with this part of your job, right? Because your job is to win football games and perform your job to help the team, but minimizing the distractions and the attention that comes with being a spotlight professional athlete. It's all part of it. It's an interesting time we're in now.
And Eamon, your job never seems to stop. I mean, the season goes, and then there's free agency. We just saw the draft, rookie camps and mini camps start to come, and then the schedule comes out, and all these things kind of unfold. Walk us through what you go through in the off season and how busy you really are right now, because there really is no rest period these days. This thing just continues to roll.
I know. I wish the question of, so what do you do in the off season, didn't have an answer to it. Like it was just shut down and come back for training camp. But the NFL is really unique. I think for fans that pay attention to the NFL news cycle may not realize just how dominant it is in the world of sports and the overall sports news cycle. If the season ends in February, 2 teams compete for the Super Bowl. A couple weeks after that is the NFL Combine. So in my role, that's really our time for our general manager, Brad Holmes, to step forward. He's now addressing questions on the upcoming draft class, free agency conversations. So we'll attend the Combine and prepare for media opportunities with both Dan and Brad out there. Then I alluded to free agency. It's how Glover joined the Lions in 2013. We're meeting new players. We're signing new players, re-signing contract extensions to players that we've already drafted on our team. So there's obviously media availability and opportunities around that. You get into the draft, you're bringing more new players, and then really, I think the most unique time of year is where we're at right now. And you get into May and June. It's called the off-season program, where most of it's voluntary, but players are here in different structured workouts. There's on-field work being done that ramps up all the way into your OTA practices, your organized team activities, and your mini camps. And so it's really the first time the team is on the field together. There's different media access points we'll have. It's an opportunity for, when players get back into Detroit to address kind of the upcoming season, meeting some of their new teammates. So all of this will sort of culminate middle of June. And then the NFL world actually finally does shut down the middle of June through the end of July. And all of a sudden it's training camp. So that's sort of a snapshot into, the off-season media responsibilities that I carry in my role. And a lot of that, sometimes it's busier than others. If you look back to last year, there were things on the team and brand side taking place, like the unveiling of new uniforms. You guys saw that. We did a lot of, player promotion around that and content promotion around that. And then the draft just happened to be here. There was a ton of events and opportunities for the team to capitalize on the momentum in the city. So, yeah, it's not a quiet. There is no off season anymore. It's really the only answer.
Eamon, one thing I do want to also ask you about, a couple of very popular guys left your program. Aaron Glenn went on to become the head coach of the New York Jets, and Ben Johnson with the Chicago Bears. Tell me what those guys in the media in both Chicago and New York are going to learn and love about those two new head coaches in their respective cities.
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, being with both of them for multiple years, Ben even longer than Aaron, to see anyone leave here, whether it's a coach or a scout, personnel person, to leave for bigger opportunities is a really positive reflection on the organization and the work being done here. And so, I don't speak for everybody, but everybody's in the same boat that very happy for those two guys to get the opportunity that they got. And I think what's interesting in my role, the way the NFL media policies and structures are in place, the visibility that coordinators now have with media availability and media opportunities, it's a really good way for, I think, people who are, in pursuit or interested someday in being head coaches get the opportunity to showcase themselves and, for lack of a better term, get reps at working with the media. And, if you think about it, an NFL head coach, with how available they are, call it on a Sunday game week, they're required to speak 3 days during the week with practices, and then they're going to talk post game. That's 4 days a week that they're addressing the media. And if you think about like across, the American business landscape, what other CEO or face of a company is addressing your product publicly to the media that frequently, right? Or that much? Probably there's nothing that compares. And so in this role, and really any head coach role, I think in any sport, you being the face of an organization or a team, speaking to the media and understanding that relationship side of it is really important. And, you've already seen, I think, Ben and Aaron be introduced in their respective markets. They've attended all the off-season events, and they're running their own off-season programs. And it's, for my chair, having my staff having had a chance to work with them and introduce them to our media members, see them develop their own relationships. It is really neat to see them go apply it somewhere else and really be the face of their own teams.
You got a thought on that at all, Glover?
I mean, it's definitely different. And, I think, being a head coach is so much more than just what we see on Sundays. It's every single day, like he was saying. He's talking to the media, you're addressing the team. You're always addressing somebody, team, your staff, the media, the owners. Like, you're always having to do that. And so your focus is not always on, being able to just coach. And so, Aaron going from a coordinator, Ben going from a coordinator to now taking on more responsibility from a media side, from a responsibility side. It's always interesting to see how those guys make that transition. And if they've been, trained properly to handle the media and those things, they could transition and be okay. But, I think some first time head coaches struggle with that because it's a lot different than what they're used to.
Yeah, those are both different markets too. Chicago's different. New York is obviously a different market than Detroit. What's your thought there? I mean, you were going to say something.
Yeah, the market varies, city to city, absolutely. And one thing our department tries to do is we try to get creative on the storytelling, right? And everybody has a story here, whether you're a player, coach, staff member. And our opportunities to tell those stories in season is part of my job within the structure of the football schedule, and also within whatever medium we're going to explore. Is it a print article? Is it something with the TV networks? And speaking specifically of our two coordinators last year, Solomon Williams, who's sort of my right hand man on staff here, worked very closely with AG. The game when we went back to Houston for Sunday Night Football, it was a great storyline with Aaron Glenn. He was the Texans' first ever expansion draft pick. Texas native, grew up nearby, has sort of this great backstory and connection to really coming home for this pretty elite matchup on paper. And obviously the storyline around him being a head coach candidate speak for itself. So Solomon had a great idea to how do we work with NBC to help amplify this a little bit. And Obviously, there's a lot of attention on any game with Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, but with this storyline in particular, we worked with NBC to highlight AG's story, and really at that point, our defense was playing really well. So the defense itself under him was a pretty big storyline for our season. And so long story short, we ended up working with NBC on, when we got to the stadium, AG did a walk and talk interview, 2 minutes with Rodney Harrison. It was the first thing to kind of open the broadcast. Then the game happens, and there's a great graphic that's shown about Aaron's career timeline, photos of him as a Texans player. So it was a really great opportunity for us to work with the network at the time that week and do something a little bit different. And you typically don't see coordinators doing that style of interview. But to Glover's point, when you take that chair, there's going to be things you've never done before. Well, now, AG has at least had some exposure into some things that, hey, when you are a head coach, this is the type of thing you're going to do, type of interview. So it was a really neat thing. I think was a win-win for everybody.
Glover, when we first got together, I told you this guy played hockey on our team. We were a championship team. We had won a championship together. Then he gets on here this morning, tells us he's about to go run a marathon. Did you know that he had that kind of athletic juice in those bones there?
No, I didn't. I mean,
let's not get too crazy here. I never played a down of organized football, Glover, so I'm very fortunate to wear this logo on my shirt and work here. But my athletic achievements ended with high school hockey, and now it's beer league with Trevor. So,
man, I think all that stuff was impressive, man. I'm getting ready tomorrow at where I work out at. We doing kind of like level up games where we just kind of fitness stuff. And it's the first time that I think I've competed or done anything like this, since I retired. And so it kind of feels like all week I've been like preparing for like it was a game, getting my workouts in. I've been trying to get sleep. I've been hydrating, all these different things. And it kind of brings me back to like that preparation for like game day and my approach. And I'm sitting here and I've been thinking about my routine and the different exercises and all these different things. And, I could only imagine what it would be like if I had to run like a marathon, like Eamon's doing. Like I probably would be like, going over everything, because to run 26 miles you don't just wake up and go and run 26 miles. It's the preparation, it's the commitment to your body, to your diet, to your hydration. And then it's a strategy. Like you said, he's not planning on walking. So now you got to keep moving. Do you have enough, food? Do you have, I've heard people say they have to put like tape and stuff on like their chest, because for running the whole time they start rubbing like blisters on their so it's a whole lot that goes into it. It's a whole lot that go into this. So it's pretty cool to hear that he's running a marathon. I'm always impressed when I hear people talk about running the marathon. It always just
again, hearing you share that you have a routine for this competition you have coming up, I wish I could say I have that. Currently, I have a sore back. My groin was pulled a month ago, and my 9-month-old son only let me sleep 3 hours last night. So I don't really have a good plan going into this. Maybe it is kind of show up and run 26, but ask me on Monday how I'm doing.
You know what you do have, Eamon, and what Glover could attest to too. You do have discipline. You do have commitment. You do have dedication, and those things certainly do drive you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think the biggest thing that gets me, and I could be overthinking it, but it's really just the expectation. For one, the expectation that I put on myself to like be able to go out and do it, because I've been working out pretty consistently every day and doing the exercises. But then all the people that you work out at the gym with, they know who you are, and y'all have fun, and we all compete. And so now it's like you got to go out and be that person that you were 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to go out and be that, because I mean, maybe they don't expect it. I don't know. But in my head, it's like I said, I'm approaching this like I'm going to play a game, and like people come to watch you play, and you got to perform, and you got to do good. You got to go, and you can't stop, and you like that's the way I'm approaching it. And I mean, when I first started my workout journey, it started back working out right around Thanksgiving. I ran like a 5K, so not a half marathon. I ran like a 5K, and I literally was trying to prepare for a 5K, and I had my pace, and I ran the entire time. And I hate running like that, but I ran the entire time. And I knew I wasn't going to run a great time. I've never been like that, but it was just the commitment to it, the finishing, not stopping, cheering other people on their journey as they're doing it, and you're trying to, keep moving yourself. So it was all so cool to me. So I think when I show up to these things, it's like I said, I don't know if the people feel the same way, but I feel like I just feel it, and it's just like, okay, it's time to go. So I'm excited.
I will say, I mean, you just got me thinking, being in this role for as long as I have, and being privileged to work around people like Glover, who are literally the best at what they do and have reached that point through hard work and perseverance. I think what makes football so unique is the preparation from start to finish to get to that ball getting kicked off, and the need for perfect execution. It sounds cliche, but like one missed assignment here or one accident here, and it can cost a play, a game, a drive, right? And I think the sense of seeing the joy and the sense of accomplishment in our coaches and players when the game is won, I don't think people truly understand. You get only 17 opportunities to show that your product works, right? And what other businesses get that few of opportunities? And so I've always had major respect just for being sort of a fly on the wall, watching elite performers like NFL coaches and players work together to accomplish one goal. You mentioned 10 years ago, Glover, about 10 years ago, you were leading the league in interceptions. So
yeah,
a little bit of that, you'll be good.
Yes, sir. And I want to say something real quick, just because you said that. Talking about the preparation and the routine, I remember this so clearly, and it affected me so much early in my career to focus on the preparation and the routine. So when I was coming out training for the combine, right, I was in LA working out at API at the time. I don't know what it's called now, but it was API at the time, right? And we're going through the program. We're practicing for the 225 bench rep, and I was pretty strong for a defensive back, right? So we in workouts, and we had this breathing routine, how they wanted us to breathe and hold our breath and get as many as we can get, and then take your breath, and then you go again. And during the workouts, I was doing like 25 reps of the 225. And so we get to the combine, and now it's my turn. And so I'm ready to go. Like, I know I'm finna, as a defensive back, I'm trying to, coming from a smaller school, I'm trying to show myself. And I get up there, and I did 22 reps. And when I got off the bench, I was like, dang, man, I only got 22. And a lot of people would have been happy about 22, right? And I got to thinking, I was like, oh, man, I screwed up my breathing. The whole time that I was practicing on this, I did it differently when I got on the stage. And it cost me, in my opinion, 3 reps. And those 3 reps might not have changed my draft stock, but in my mind, it was like I didn't perform the way that I could have performed, all because mentally I made a mistake. And so that just fueled me throughout my whole career. It was like, hey, the things that I practice on is what I need to do in the game. Whatever I practice on is what I need to do. And if I can focus on that, you're going to be successful more times than not. So, short story.
Both of you guys are going to knock it out of the park. I know that, and good luck to both of you guys. And both of you guys are, and I truly meant this, Eamon, with you, with Glover, the best in the business at what you do. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to do this with us today, Eamon, and Glover and I. We look forward to doing another episode of Believe in Lions real shortly coming up here. So thanks to both of you guys, and enjoy the weekend, guys.
No, I appreciate it. And I said before we started, the irony of being requested to do an interview with Glover Quinn after years of asking him to do countless interviews is really cool for me, honestly, and humbled and honored to reconnect with you guys. So I really appreciate you having me.
Cool, man. Appreciate you, man.